Good morning. Now, today's reading from the Gospel of John describes Jesus' first miracle, or as John calls them, signs. John does not call miracles miracles, he calls them signs. And there are 7 of them in the Gospel of John. Now, and this first sign or miracle is a well-known story of a wedding that Jesus, his disciples, and his mother attended. And the wedding took place in a small town called Cana in Galilee, not that far away from Nazareth. It was probably a wedding of one of the extended relatives of Jesus, maybe a cousin, or maybe a wedding of one of Jesus's friends. Now, you all know how much goes into the planning of the wedding. It's a lot of work. And it was probably the case not just in our times, but in the time of Jesus. You want to make sure that all the details are covered, and everyone has the best time of their lives. But we also know that despite all the planning, sometimes the things can go wrong. The cake falls off the table. Somebody is late. The flower girl refuses to walk down the aisle, and there is plenty of tears in the back of the church. And you try to manage the crisis. The first dance may not go as well as you planned. Sometimes things go wrong at the weddings. And that was the case at this particular wedding in Cana. John tells us there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee, and the mother of Jesus was there. Jesus and his disciples were also invited to the wedding. When the wine ran short, the mother of Jesus said to him, "They have no wine." There is no wine. Now, this would be quite embarrassing if you are a host at the wedding. But notice that Mary steps in response to the crisis that is happening. No wine. Now, interestingly enough, it's a good trivia question when it comes to the Gospel of John, that in the Gospel of John, John never calls Mary by name. He refers to Mary only as mother of Jesus. So that if you only had the Gospel of John, you would never know what the name of the mother of Jesus was. That's quite interesting. Now, Jesus' response to his mother is a bit harsh, or at least surprising, the words that he uses. John continues, and Jesus said to her, "Woman, how does your concern affect me? My hour has not yet come." It's a very strange response. And we will come back to why Jesus calls his mother woman. That's very strange. But there is a reason for it. And John is very intentional with respect to why Jesus calls his mother a woman. Now, Jesus' initial refusal to do something about the problem does not stop Mary. Jesus thinks that it is not his time yet to perform any miracles, any signs. He says the hour has not yet come. That is what Jesus is thinking. Mary thinks otherwise. And Mary is right. It appears that in this case, Mary, the mother of Jesus, knows Jesus better than Jesus knows himself. And mothers do. Mothers do know us much better than we know ourselves. And then John continues. His mother said to the servers, "Do whatever he tells you." And this is the last thing that Mary will say in the Gospel of John. Do whatever he tells you. Now, we know the rest of the story quite well. There were 6 jars. They are filled with water. The water is changed into wine, and it is the best wine ever. Nobody except servers and maybe disciples knows who did it. But everyone is impressed, including the head waiter. He is so impressed that John tells us the head waiter called the bridegroom and said to him, "Everyone serves good wine first, and when people have drunk freely, an inferior one." Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Good reasoning. "But you have kept the good wine until now." And then John adds, Jesus did this as the beginning of his signs at Cana in Galilee. Now, all of this is possible because of one thing. All of this is possible because the servers did what Mary, the mother of Jesus, told them to do. Do whatever he tells you. If they did not listen to Mary, if they did not listen to Jesus, there would be no wine. It would be the end of the party. And this is the key phrase in the passage. Do whatever he tells you. John invites all of us to have that same attitude. That's what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. It means to do what he tells you. Now, interestingly enough, Mary, the mother of Jesus, and that can be another trivia question, appears only 2 times in the Gospel of John. That's it. Only 2 times. At the beginning, at the wedding in Cana, and the second time in chapter 19 at the foot of the cross. And at the cross, John tells us this is what happened. When Jesus saw his mother from the cross, and the disciple whom Jesus loved, standing by her, he said to his mother, "Woman, behold your son." Then he said to his disciple, "Behold your mother." And from that hour, the disciple took her into his own home. Now notice that both in Cana and at the foot of the cross, Jesus calls his mother woman. And John does it on purpose. He puts this word in the mouth of Jesus because he wants us and anyone who reads this story to connect the two events, to read them together. But even more importantly, at the cross, the disciple whom Jesus loved does what Jesus tells him to do, as did the servers in Cana. The disciple at the cross takes Mary into his home. He listens to Jesus and he does exactly what Jesus tells him. That's the connection to Cana. Do whatever he tells you appears at the beginning and appears at the end of Jesus' life and ministry. And again, for John, it is the key phrase. And Mary says to us the same thing, speaks to us the same words she spoke to the servers. Do whatever he tells you. That's what it means to be a disciple of Jesus. And if we do, God will provide the way he provided in Cana. Jesus will provide for whatever is lacking. There is a song that we sometimes sing at 5 p.m. Mass, or the teens sing that song. It's entitled Jireh. And it's a strange Hebrew word, J-I-R-E-H. And it is actually a less known name for God. And you find it in the book of Genesis, in the story of Abraham and Isaac, when Abraham talks to Isaac and says, Jireh, God will provide. That's what the name means. God will provide. You see, our lives are not different than the story of the wedding in Cana, at least in one respect. We too run out of things in life. Maybe not wine, but we can run out of juice. We can run out of energy. We can run out of creativity. We can run out of passion. We can run out of faith, at least for the time being. It can happen to anyone and everyone. We can even run out of patience and love. And then you look at the mirror and you say, the jar is empty. It's just empty. And it's as dry as the sand in the desert. The question is, what do we do then when that happens to us? When we look at the mirror? Mary tells us, do whatever he tells you. And if you do, miracles can happen. God will provide. God will fill up the empty jar with something even better.